Welcome to the Misty Rambles, your mystical getaway into the realm of spirituality, crystals, the paranormal, and intriguing conspiracy theories. We are your hosts, Nicole and Corey, guiding you through the veils of the unknown, where we embark on a journey of discovery and wonder.
Join us as we delve into the hidden depths of ancient wisdom, exploring the power of crystals, unlocking the secrets of the universe, and unraveling the phenomena that surrounds us. From the whispers of the spirits to the mind-bending mysteries that challenge conventional beliefs, we dive headfirst into the uncharted territories of the metaphysical.
Each episode will gather around the digital campfire, sharing captivating stories and thought-provoking discussions that will leave you questioning reality itself. Whether you're a seasoned truth seeker or a curious skeptic, the Misty Rambles is your haven for expanding your consciousness and embracing the realms beyond our everyday existence.
So grab your favourite crystal, light a soothing incense, and open your mind to the extraordinary. It's time to embark on an adventure like no other. Welcome to
the Misty Rambles. Welcome to another episode of the Misty Rambles with Nicole and Corey. I am so excited to say that it's actually spooky season. Woo!
I know, I can't believe it. It's like the best time of the year.
I definitely screamed way too loud there. But yeah, this month is like so exciting for us. So this means like this month will be, you can expect it to be filled with like plenty of ghostly lure and more, is what I want to say.
Just really fun things that we're passionate about. We're just going to be talking about.
This is our month.
This is when people are really going to see the two of us rambling.
Oh god, yeah.
Because the episodes are just going to be crazy.
Yeah. So
maybe even a surprise.
We'll not give away too much anyway.
No. We'll just throw it out there.
Yeah. But as we start this Halloween month, we are going to discuss our topic on moons and astrology for this week. So, like, for moons, for example, like where do we even begin with this, to be honest?
It's such a hard topic to kind of pick a start point. Like, even when I found research and I was like, where do you actually start with this?
Yeah.
There's so much in it.
Like, for me, like, I've always been connected to the moon, but like when you go into the astrology side of that, that's the Scorpio with me. Now look, that's not saying that there's other star signs that aren't connected with the moon, but me especially. I'm a bit of a night owl, but I'm really drawn to like the beautiful night energy. So it makes sense why, like, I would do an awful lot of my work at night time. I would find that my energy is actually higher at night compared to during the day, which is really interesting. But like the moon, for me, and for everyone else, it actually has a massive impact on our bodies, and we are going to go into that obviously, but you just think about how the moon controls the ocean and how like the effect it has on our bodies, because we're made up of like 60% water. So you can imagine, right, if the moon can control the ocean, then how
does it control us?
Like it can't not control us, like if we're made up of 60% water. So like something that we can agree on in this madness is like, for people who don't believe in the energy that it contains, there is still a huge notice of the change of energy when there's like a full moon, or there's like a super moon or a new moon. Like, for example, right, my auntie's friend, she lives over in Canada, so she moved over to Canada like 20 years ago. And I hadn't seen her for a few years because I kept missing her, but there was a few years back anyway, she came over. And she does kind of dispatch calls for the police over in Canada.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That's cool.
And I remember she was telling me like, oh, you know, like this came out of nowhere. Like she just goes, oh, the full moon. And I literally was like, what?
Oh my god. Speaking of that, I don't want to cut you off, but
no.
I was watching a TV program, and it was called Blue Lights, and it's based.
I know it. Yeah.
One of the episodes was full moon fever, or something to do with the full moon, and it was like everything was kicking off during the full moon, and it was like they're meant to be their craziest time. So like that's mad. Yeah.
So she was like basically saying to me like that, like the full moon that she had experienced before she came over to Ireland for a break, because her family still live in Ireland. She was saying like the place would be, she'd always expected to go mental. Like it was always like the phones were way more higher as well, like just constantly phoning in, there'd be problems. She was like worst case scenario, like everything you could ever imagine would happen on that night. And I think it's the same for people who work in hospitals. Like it's actually referenced quite a lot as well when you watch films or TV shows, or even just talk to people in general that work in hospitals. They will always be more prepared for these full moons, because they always know there's going to be more traumas coming in, a lot more ambulances being called. It's like, how can you not say that the full moon hasn't got a connection? Exactly. So like that was kind of like my way of thinking, okay, for anyone that doesn't believe in it, which is totally okay, you nearly can't disbelieve that, because that is like inexplicable.
And like the fact that even it's brought up in like films and TV shows, it shows that like there is people thinking like, oh yeah, there is definitely a connection with this, but it's then like almost like trying to show them in the programs, and like it's such a good way for to be like, hey, look, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, honest to God. So like for you, like what way did you find information on the moon?
I found it so hard. It was actually like getting information about the moons when I was researching this. I was like, where do I start?
Yeah.
How do I start? Where do I start? What do I even look at? But for me, like, I never really would have connected with the moons.
Okay.
But now I'm sort of like, when there's a full moon, I was like, I can feel kind of my energy
The
is
shift.
shifted in like this sort of way or this way. So I'm kind of like, now I'm starting to see like, so there is this connection, which I never really thought about before.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of, when I was researching this, I was amazed at some of the facts and like the stuff I found. I was like, how have I never noticed this before? And when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that did happen before, and especially like the full moon.
You're able to link it back to like your life now, basically.
Yeah.
Like, the effects of it.
When like I see a full moon, and like I love full moons. Like there's something about it that when I see it, I'm like, that's so cool.
Oh no, it's so eye-catching. Like there's something there, but like I think it's the power that comes off it as well. It's
Yeah.
like you feel like you're being given something in return, and you're like, what is coming?
Like how?
Yeah, like there's so many different types of moons and the effects of what they do as well.
Yeah.
Like the moon had actually been like it held reverence back to people in the ancient times. So like lunar cycles were used as guides for planting and for harvesting, celebrations and fertility. So like any time that we celebrate a full moon, like I'd always put up a little post about it and like break down information for people to know. Maybe it's what to do. I think a lot of people get too caught up and think, oh, is there a right and wrong? Should we be doing this? Should we be doing that?
Yeah.
I don't think there is. Like I think it's like whatever you feel once it's associated with what it's giving you. So like in the pagan community, it helps guide intentions. So that would be like setting the intention, spell casting, gatherings. So you see an awful lot of like full moon circles being gathered, or ceremonies happening at beaches and different sacred sites. Then there's new moons, there's a waxing moon, and that's when the moon grows bigger, and they're used to grow fortune, relationships, happiness and health. Full moons are associated with heightened energy, so that's your emotions and power, while waning moons are growing smaller. So that's like taught in aiding to lessen your burden, so taking pressure off you, be that weight, anxiety, bad relationships or debt, whatever else that might be causing you any pain or hurt. So you can kind of imagine that when we have these certain events with the moons, that we can do these certain kind of, whether it's a ritual, whether it's maybe it's an intention setting, maybe it's just doing a meditation, you know exactly what you're working with.
Yeah.
Is what I see. Yeah. It's very
like I never really done any moon rituals.
Right, okay.
But from talking to you, I'm like, and even seeing like the post that you'd be putting up, I'd be like, oh yeah, so you can do this, or you can do this, and I'm like, kind of learning more, because before I even met you, I was never really thought about like crystals, the moon, all this sort of stuff. Now I'm kind of like, this is super interesting, and I think it's like opening me more to it, because I never kind of would have experienced
it wasn't
before.
part of your like monthly routine essentially. Yeah.
So I'm kind of, now I'm like, okay, so if I do this can help me with this, and I'm kind of like, why did I like never think about this before?
I know, it's mad.
Yeah.
It is mad. So what did you find on it, for
So
example?
I was kind of looking at how the moon affects us. So I found the gravitational pull of the moon. So the moon exerts a strong gravitational pull that causes the change in tides, as we were speaking about. In our oceans and seas, the gravitational pull is at its strongest during a new moon and a full moon. So here we experience the highest and lowest tides. So I thought that was like, going back to what you were saying about how it controls like the tides and stuff. I never knew that, and I was like, that's what I mean. When I was researching, I was like, I didn't know that.
That's mad. Yeah.
So like, I'm coming at this like from a completely like, what?
Yeah, a blank perspective. It's like, this is all new information to you, essentially.
Which kind of like a lot of our topics have been, where I'm kind of like
you're
learning, so I'm like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, it's like school, but also fun.
It's not like I'm coming in here and Nicole's like, let me see your homework, what did you do? You got 80% of that one.
Oh my God. No, we're very free willing in this, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just combining information, really. Like, I mean, obviously I know so much about moons, but there's an awful lot that I don't know about moons as well. Like, so for me it was kind of like, okay, what don't I know about this? And what could people learn about it too as well? But you were saying anyway, that was the gravitational pull that you found out about.
And then our sleep rhythms. I didn't know that also
Okay.
affects sleep as well.
Majorly. I actually found that an awful lot of people that would come into me leading up to the full moon or leading up to even just a blue moon or a blood moon, that they would say, God, I haven't been sleeping well lately.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like, do you know that we actually have a new moon coming? Or whatever it might be. And they're like, yeah, like some people do know about it and some people aren't aware of it. And they're like, God, I didn't even realise it was so soon. And I'm like, that's probably why your sleep has been impacted by that. I always find that I actually sleep really well leading up to the moon, which is funny, whereas I wouldn't sleep as well after it.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like my mind is in a different kind of game altogether. It's like it's thinking differently, and I don't know if that's based around the intentions I've set or what I'm thinking about that I'm trying to attract into my life. But it definitely has more of an impact on me after. So everyone's different.
I find that, like, I didn't know, but then when I researched it, I was like, okay, so I was trying to think back and I was like, my sleep doesn't be great coming up to it.
Okay.
And I'm like, how? I never really put it together.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what? Like, even, we had a full moon on Friday?
Full moon Friday,
yeah.
Well, it was super full moon, yeah?
Yeah. I slept like amazing that night.
There you go.
And
Same
it was probably
way.
like the best sleep I ever had.
Yeah.
I went to sleep at like, I'd say 9:30 and I'd wake up till about 9:30 the next morning. And I was like, for me that's like the best sleep. I'm normally like asleep at
that's a solid 12 hours if you think about it, like, you know.
I normally like, I'd sleep probably from like 1 in the morning till 7 and then that's me, like I'm wide awake then. But I was amazed at how much I actually slept.
So that energy obviously was draining you, like you were exhausted, so you needed rest is what your body was trying to say, and then when you woke up you got the sleep that you actually needed the most because your body was probably maybe in overdrive as well, so that energy was like, Corey, you need rest in order for you to harvest the abundance that it is that you desire, because it was a harvesting moon. You were basically told to rest your body, so you needed grounding time.
So, several studies have shown that people experience 30% less deep sleep during a full moon as compared to the rest of the month. Why is this? Researchers believe our internal biological rhythms may be linked to the moon cycles. Changes in sleep can have dramatic effects on your overall mood, causing irritable, decreased concentration and focus, impatience, elevated levels of stress hormone, cortisol?
I think that's right,
So that's what I found. When I was reading that, I was like, kind of, as I always do, I always think back and I'm like, oh yeah, this like has happened to me, but I would have never associated it with the moon. I would have been like, oh, I just had bad sleep. Whereas now I'm kind of more like, why?
You can kind of see it into it like a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm kind of like reading into it and I'm like, okay, so I was coming up to this and I didn't sleep well, but after that I slept well, so I found that was probably like the most interesting thing I found, because I never thought that way or even like would have put that together, but now when I read it I was like, why, it makes so much sense now, and I'm like, that's why.
Oh yeah, it ties all together, and obviously like, look, some people may not believe in that, that's totally grand, like, I mean, but to me it's like, God, it just makes sense, you know, it really does, in my opinion. Like, the other thing is, well, like, there's obviously the different types of moons, like we were kind of going into, but the super moon, this full moon, it marks like the closest approach of the moon to the earth, so you can imagine how large it would be at a super moon. So we had like only one there on Friday and it was humongous, and it was this bright yellow, and like when I see yellow you think of harvest, like, you know, crops being grown, they're really bright and full, so I was like, oh God, like it just ties so well together. And then as well it's like bigger, so it means they've grown, it's like time for you to gather what it is that you desire. So the effect is most noticeable just after the moon rises above the horizon. And it says that the supermoon is said to offer enlightenment regarding unrealized aspects of your souls and provide access and insights into unexplored emotions and alternative life paths. Feelings tend to flow more freely and drive for change is fortified. So basically, like, I find the lead up to the moon in September. September is a bit of a funny month. I think it's like your body is in this overdrive. Summer is over. We're waiting, we're kind of knowing that the winter is kind of on its way. It's starting to get a wee bit more chillier. People are like, and energy can kind of grow a bit stagnant, I think, as well, because you're kind of getting into this routine again after having this lovely sun and energy, and then your body's like, what is going on? So naturally it's like, this is going to bring you that freedom. And it's like that. You can kind of feel emotional. I know I did during September. I was like, oh my God, this. And I was so emotional, but I was like, instead of me holding it, I released it.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the night of the supermoon, I had no emotions to release. I was like, I just need to set now what it is that I desire over the next month. What do I need? And showed so much gratitude towards what it is I had in my life over the last 6 to 9 months, because it is about kind of overlooking that. The next one is the blue moon. So this moon is like more of an expression moon, so it happens very rarely. So once in a blue moon is why it's
Oh yeah.
So that's
I never put that together. God.
Oh God.
I'm only thinking about that and I'm like,
it's such an
yeah,
unusual
that makes
one,
so
isn't it?
much sense.
It's so obvious.
I always wondered why it was a blue moon. I was like, what's the story?
Well, there you have it.
So you learn something new every day.
So happens less frequently, obviously. Describes the power of blue moon is being more highly charged than a regular full moon. It's also like a good time to be creating a ritual that involves first sitting and observing the moon. So it's basically observing or absorbing. Thank you. The energy of the moon. It also says if you can't see it, you're meant to draw a picture of the moon. I'd even suggest colouring that in blue as well. And the energy that is still there, that's within it. So it's like, you know, Ireland especially is known for its clouds. But then it also set your intention in motion by writing down. I do that all the time anyway. With pen to paper, a single clear goal that you want between now and the next blue moon. And then basically it stresses the importance of choosing one thing and being very clear about it. So don't be thinking, I don't know, something really vague. It could be just like, I want to be successful in the next year, but what do you want to be successful in? Maybe that could be a good one.
Like narrow it down.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you want to achieve? Then once you've written down, you're meant to sit under the moon and visualize this intention as being true in its present. So that's kind of the manifestation element of it.
Yeah.
And then you're becoming of the sensations of being its truth. And I think of the truth with the blue moon, it's like you're seeing your truth, because you think of the throat chakra again, it's tying back to that.
Yeah.
I'd also suggest for you to pop that under your pillow at night. It's kind of like you're sleeping with the energy of the moon.
That's a good idea.
That's another one. And then we have the blood moon. So it's like another aspect of a certain full moon is a full lunar eclipse where the moon passes through the shadow of the earth. So this is like planetary transits and stellar alignments have always been thought to be highly charged. So the blood moon usually brings so much power to us.
Yeah.
Hires our predictive value even as well. And it's considered to be favourable for gaining insights relating to advancing humanity's spiritual development. So you'd find an awful lot of people doing like spell work around this time, and even releasing anything that might be negative in their lives too. As well as that, then it's meant to emphasise the importance of tuning in rather than engaging in mundane activities. And it says think of eclipses as a time of change and an opportunity to eliminate chaos from your life. So again, it's like that release of what it is that's holding you back.
That's really
so it's really, really interesting. You have one on new moons, right?
Yeah, so I kind of went to this from like a different perspective to you.
Okay, I love that though.
Yeah, like it always seems to be that when we come in, it's like we give each other like a brief kind of go through so that we know we're not.
It's like yin and yang.
Yeah. So that the two of us know that we're not like going to be talking about the exact same things. So like you done like the supermoon, and speaking of the supermoon, I was actually going to college on Friday morning. And I was getting the bus and I was going out at 6:30 in the morning and the moon was like right in front of the road, and I was just looking at it the entire journey and I was like, that is so cool. It was like on this road there was like no lights and the moon was just lighting the whole road and the whole road was just white, and I was like, that is so cool. I was like, I love that. And I think I spent like the whole 10-minute journey from my house to the bus stop just like, looking up.
Admiring it. There you are. It's so eye-catching.
Yeah, so I kind of went with like the new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous and full moon. I went with them ones and how the moon affects us, them types of moons. So the new moon, what looks to us like no moon or a dark moon, happens when the moon is positioned in alignment between the earth and the sun. We don't see the illuminated side of the moon that's facing the sun, so it appears dark. New moon effects and what it means for you. This low light phase can manifest low energy for us. You may feel tired, introspective and ready to indulge in some much needed introverted time. How to make the most of this phase? I love this part. This thing, I read this and I was like, I love this. Now is a fabulous time to curl up by the fire, put some fuzzy socks on, and spend some time with yourself. I love that. I love that.
But it's like new moon, new you kind of thing. Like
that's
that new year, new me.
yeah, new year, new me.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, I suppose, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it associates back to that. And again, it's like everyone's always giving out about that. Like it's like new year, new me. That's like a load of rubbish. But it's like
New
true
moon,
because
new me.
you're setting new goals for yourself. Like it could
Yeah.
be, and I know everyone's like, I'm gonna go to the gym in January, and a lot of people are like, no, not going. But it's kind of like that. It's like
Yeah.
that, like fresh start. So like that's why we have new moons throughout the year. It's kind of like it's giving you the opportunity to refresh yourself. And sometimes the first step to do is actually self care.
Yeah.
So it's kind of saying, here, chill up, watch your favorite film, have your favorite snack, basically.
When I read that, I was like, I want to do that right now. I was like sitting in my room writing all this, and I was like, imagine if the fire was lit and I had like a cup of tea and biscuits and a
Yeah.
movie on. And I was like, that would just be the most amazing thing right now.
I know. Christmas vibes.
Yeah, literally.
I know.
Take time to reflect on how you're feeling and honour your inklings to stay home, cancel plans, and not return texts today. So that's kind of like a proper like self-care.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's putting yourself first in that moment, because a lot of us actually tend to like drain our own energies by filling other people's cups up.
Yeah.
So it's allowing you to basically go back to you and connect yourself. And, be
And just like
okay,
take time for yourself.
what do I enjoy doing? Yeah, and go back to that.
So the waxing crescent, waxing means the illuminated portion of the moon is increasing. In the waxing crescent phase, only a crescent-shaped sliver is visible to us. What this means for you: after relaxing and recharging and reflecting in the new moon, you are ready to go forward with new light and added energy. So that's like basically going from like your self-care into what you're going to do. I love. How to make the most of this phase: write down your intentions for the coming month and thank the universe in advance for all the beautiful things you know will be coming your way. Sit down with your crystals and visualize the next manifestation you're ready to accept in your life. This is going back to what we were talking about last week, manifestation and how like the moon affects that.
Yep.
I love.
Yep. Oh no, like the moon has such a huge impact when it comes to
Yeah.
like manifestation as well. Like a lot of people always say like the full moon, for example, is a really powerful time to set your intention about what you desire, because it's just that energy is going
Yeah.
to amplify your desire to receive what it is that you want.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
It's like the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, you'll see everyone hyping about it.
So then the first quarter, during this phase the moon is at a 90-degree angle to the earth and sun. We see half the moon illuminated and the other half in shadow. In the first quarter we see what appears to be the right half of the moon. That actually confused me when I read it there. I was like, what? I was reading that and I was like, that doesn't make sense, but now I'm like,
it
yeah,
makes sense, you're
it does. What this means for you: this balance of light and shadow reflects the obstacles you'll start to encounter
Yeah.
as you bring your intentions to life. How to make the most of this phase: go with the flow of life, embrace the yeses and take the no's as a signal for redirection. The universe may have bigger plans that you can imagine. You just need to follow the breadcrumbs that lead to the highest creative potential. I love that. That's like when I'm like doing a say college project and like something goes wrong, I'm like, no, I hate this, I'm not doing it anymore. But now reading that, I'm like, maybe I just need to like take time and just read into it more, like why is it not working for me?
Yeah.
And it's something that I never done. I'm just like, no, it's not working.
It's the same when like, you know, when we're trying to like get something that we really want and it's taking that little bit extra time and we're
Yeah.
kind of like, why isn't it working? And it's like everything is going wrong leading up to this moment where you're like, it's coming but it's not ready to come at the same time. And you're like, what's going on? And a lot of people get thrown off their path by that, but it's actually just the universe, or should I say the energy, that's testing you to say, okay, you're actually meant to keep on going. It's just to see how strong you are.
Yeah.
And then you'll actually receive it in the end, because you're going to be thrown off your path, but you need to force yourself back onto the path that you were on. That's
It was
all.
almost like me a couple of weeks ago when like everything was going wrong
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, got my car and then my car stopped working and I was like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not driving anymore.
Yeah.
I give up. And then I'm like, no, hang on, let me figure this out.
Yeah.
And like everything just went wrong and it was just the moon. It was retrograde, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah. It was that, and it was just like, I was like, why is everything happening to me?
Because I remember you texting in, and me and Zara were just like retrograde, like if we were like waiting for it to hit us next. We were like, oh god, what's happening?
But it was just hitting me. It was you're getting it all.
Certain star signs get affected differently each year by the retrograde as well. Like that's another thing. Like, and it's just like
it's just my
it's
year.
inevitable. Like you're just going to be impacted in some way. And like I was thinking maybe I won't get it that bad, because I know last year it was like a shitstorm. I was like, oh my god, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then this year it came on me a little bit later, and I was just like, okay. And I had my tears and I had my time, and I was like, okay, we've got this. And then eventually I was like, no, there's something coming, and like it always works out in the end. Like something greater comes to you essentially. It's just magical really, but you have to kind of go through it.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I have is the waxing gibbous. I think that's how we're pronouncing it. So just like the waxing crescent phase, in the waxing gibbous, the illuminated portion of the moon is increasing towards the full moon. What this means for you, the waxing gibbous phase signals redirection, adjustment and flexibility. Your plans are being challenged and your patience is being tested. That's happened a lot. How to make the most of this phase: be flexible, have gratitude for this moment, and look for signs and signals that are directing you to the best course of action. Listen to your inner knowing and trust in your own innate wisdom. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just so confused. Write your intention or consult the tarot cards for clues and guidance that you're on the right path. So that's that one.
Okay.
So I've had my patience has been tested so much through college. Like, let's not even get into that part.
Okay, that's for another day.
Oh, that's like a whole rant. Sorry. Okay,
Moving on.
so moving swiftly on from that, the next one I have is the full moon.
Oh,
my favourite.
My favourite too. Touche.
In this phase,
I don't even know if that's relevant. Like,
I don't know. We'll figure that out later. So the full moon, in this phase, the moon appears as a full gleaming circle when the sun, moon and earth are all in alignment. Compared to the new moon phase, the moon is on the other side of the earth, so we see the side that's being illuminated by the sun. Effects of the full moon and what this means for us. The sun and moon are in opposite zodiac signs. During this phase you may feel tension, heightened emotions and extra energy as these opposite energies pull on you. How to make the most of this: observe and have compassion for your heightened emotions. Channel this heightened energy into projects and activities that light you up. If you are receptive and open, you may see new opportunities bloom, your intention setting earlier in the month. So I found that really interesting. Going through like all the different moon phases, because it's something I never really would have like looked into. But when I was reading them, I was like, oh yeah, well like, I was like, it's all connected. And like even when we done manifestation, like how that's even connected
it
to
ties
this.
into it. Like it's almost like when you start doing the research into one thing when it comes to anything, whether it's energy work or the moon or healing, it's like they always link in. And that's why when I say to people that when you start this, it'll never stop. It's like you'll go into one loophole and then you'll open a can of worms and it'll just
keep
be
going
like
down that rabbit hole.
You'll keep going down and you'll want to know more and more and more, and it's like the intrigue is there. Like everybody's like, I don't know where to begin, and I'm always like, go with what you're drawn to. So like what calls to you right now, and then when you're finished like what it is that you think you've learned for yourself, you'll want to know more, and then you'll find more. And it's not like you're going to be like, I don't know what else to learn, or I feel like, you know, it's almost like people put themselves under pressure to learn more. You will be able to gradually like open yourself up to what it is that you desire in that regards, and then you will have your own channel of connection basically that way too. Okay, Corey, so astrology.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know much about astrology. Like, have you ever read like the newspaper? That would have been a really good
the
example.
horoscopes.
Yeah. Like,
I've done horoscopes in the newspaper. I would have looked into a lot.
Yeah.
And then I remember, God, it was probably like 2 years ago. I was really into like the horoscopes, and I downloaded an app on my phone. It was like every morning. I think it was 7 o'clock in the morning. Your phone would ping and be like, "Here's your horoscope for today," and I'm like, "Oh God."
I think everyone like that's into it would be into. Like I know some people are like red flag. You're into zodiacs. I was the same. Like growing up, I used to always read the magazines my nanny used to collect. Used to have horoscopes.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't like, oh, I have to rely on these. But I used to think they were quite interesting. And some of them I'd be like, no. But like, you know, some of them were actually weirdly accurate as
Yeah.
well. But like, astrology ties into the power of the moon.
Yeah.
So like, it involves the forecasting of earthly and human events through the observation and interpretation of the mixed stars, the sun, the moon, and the planets. So for everyone that's listening to the podcast, just before we were recording the podcast, I asked Corey if he knew his sun, moon, and rising, and he didn't know it. So we kind of done like a little calculator to figure out what his was. And it's really interesting, like how much, like for me when I'm doing card readings for people, I always ask them what their star sign is, because
Yeah.
it associates back to the person that they are and what we need to focus on when it comes to healing. So it's really, really interesting. So don't like read into it too much, but when it comes to your element and who you are as a person, it makes so much sense. So the significance of astrology is who we are, which I think is incredible, right? So I was always someone who would have been like reading these like growing up, as I was saying earlier on, but I never really like relied on it either. So your star sign is Sagittarius. And then we found out that your, hold on one second now.
So somewhere on that laptop.
So your sun is Sagittarius then, okay?
Yeah.
But your moon is Cancer.
Okay.
And your ascendant, which is your rising, is Leo. Okay? So when I was looking into this, so your rising, okay, hold on one second. Your rising is Leo. So I'm going to find this here for you. So Leo means you're very creative. That ties into what it is that you're doing right now. Like, you're a photographer, so you have to have an open, creative mind essentially to be able to create something that hasn't been before. Go to places, like you have your own niche essentially. Yeah. So you are very creative.
Especially with this project I'm doing at the minute, I have to be creative,
open-minded.
Yeah.
Then your moon is Cancer. So moon then, let me see. You're moody. Ooh.
God.
You're like, I'm being called out right now. But moody isn't like, people be like, oh God, that means so bad. But that doesn't mean anything. Like, moody could mean that you're like able to like express your emotions quite well. But then you could be also someone that finds that they get overwhelmed quite easily. Like,
you're doing a great way of just telling me that I'm like, explaining that I'm not moody, but I am.
But like, it is because like, we'll get to mine. But don't worry. And then your rising, is that the one that we were doing? No, your next one's sun. Sorry, sun. So you're Sagittarius, obviously. Yeah. So you're a daredevil. So you're fearless. And that makes sense too. Because you think about all the places you go to and you're just like, feck it, it's fine. Like,
yeah, I'm like, let's go in here in this dark, spooky looking house.
Yeah, that's like daredevil vibe. So that makes so much sense. So Sagittarius then is also a fire sign. Okay? So fire signs are like, naturally, they're confident. Actually, do you know what? We'll get into that in a second. We'll actually, let's slate myself now, okay? So I'm a Scorpio. So water sign. Yeah. So my sun is Scorpio, my moon is Scorpio, and my rising is Libra. So
I thought you were going to say Scorpio.
I know, and you would kind of think like, geez, because I am like, I know I'm a Scorpio. I've had people come into me and they're like, you're a water sign, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. But it's so interesting. Like, we'll go into the characteristics of these signs anyway. Yeah. But yeah, so for my sun being a Scorpio, I'm a human lie detector. I basically can read people like a book. Yeah. So I'm really good at telling when someone's lying and when they're not. So especially ill will and that, like, I'm really good at seeing people's intentions towards me and others. So I'm always just like, but I can, in my mind I'm like, it's like I have a good reader when it comes to that. The other one is my moon. So my moon, I'm suspicious. Oh, definitely. Like, I find
100%.
a lot of people are always like, what is she up to? What is she doing? I definitely come across as that, so it is that I can definitely admit to that. And then my rising is Libra, so I'm thoughtful apparently. Yeah, kind of sweet.
You're not moody.
That's your moon side, okay. But yeah, no, it is. It's just really interesting how they tie into that. But that's obviously sun, moon, rising. Yeah. When it comes to our actual water, like our water signs, our elements. For example, I'm water, so I be very emotional. I'm sensitive. I'm empathic, creative, and I remember everything, because they often say with water, be careful how you talk to water, because it remembers everything. And I can easily say that I am a person who remembers everything that's ever happened to me, good and bad, but especially the bad. I'm always kind of like, oh, I kind of like hold on to that. So because of that, then our chakra, so this is Cancer, Scorpios and Pisces that are water signs, we would find that we would suffer quite a lot with our sacral chakra, whether it's overstimulated or understimulated. Yeah. And for me, mine is slightly blocked, which it links back to like illnesses that you can develop, which links to me. we will be the type of people that can either express emotion quite well, or we don't express it. We hold it in upon ourselves. So that's why we come across for a Scorpio quite suspicious.
Yeah.
But it's because we're waiting for the right time to show our vulnerability. People think we're really like scary and mean and nasty. But then, in real fact, we're actually really sad people. Like, you know, we've suffered an immersive amount of pain, and we're trying to hold it together, and people don't realise that. So they kind of pull at you, and you kind of get to your home where you feel in your safe net, and then you show how you really feel. So I'm sure there's a lot of water signs that can relate to that. So our healers are water. So like, you need to be near water to heal. So drinking water, getting into water. I find having a shower or a bath is really good a day, like just to kind of clear the energy on your own. Swimming is fantastic. Sometimes we don't get enough of that because of our weather and where we live. Wearing oranges, wearing oranges, eating orange, the smell of orange, anything citrusy is really, really good for your body as well. So then we have fire signs. So this is your category, okay? And we have Aries, Leo and Sagittarius. So my mom is a Leo. And yous are passionate, yous are inspiring, yous are competitive spirits, and you're spontaneous and temperamental. So essentially, like, yous are really filled with confidence, and yous are all linked to the solar plexus. But then with fire signs, like, I think again, it's like fire is like, people are like, oh God, are they like gonna explode, or are they gonna lose their cool with me? It's like there's a bit of like tension there, but it's not always the case. Like, it's like they're known because you're fire, you think, oh God, they're ready to set the place on fire, but they're not. But another thing with fire signs is that they can't be contained, so you don't want to be working, like, it's clear you don't like working in enclosed environments. You're someone who likes being outdoors, right? My mom's the same. Like, she's constantly working, and yous are hard workers too, but she would have always worked inside, whereas like, not that I know of that she wants to work outside, but I think she works better outside. Like, she likes gardening, so that's free in her free.
Kind of like when I was in school and we had to do like work experience, I worked in the Virginia Park Lodge Hotel as a gardener.
Okay.
And then I was also doing the headstones. So like, they were kind of two like real outdoor ones, like out in whatever weather it was. Yeah. So like, that makes a lot of sense.
It does. And you enjoy being out there. Like, you think all of the work that you do is outdoors. Yeah. It's not indoors. So that's your freedom. Because if like a fire is contained in a box, like when I say box, I mean like hypothetical here, or what's the word? Metaphorically speaking, where it's like you're in a shop, or you're in an office, or whatever it might be where you're working. Or even just being at home, for example, constantly, and don't want to leave your home, or whatever it might be, that's going to dim your flame. So you're going to be like, oh, and then you'll lose a bit of confidence in yourself, where you're meant to be naturally confident people, spontaneous people. Like, you love adventure. My mom's the exact same. She's like, okay, what am I doing today? She wants like madness in her life, like, you know, and it's just, that's what she enjoys. It's like that passion, that drive, that fun-filled energy. But solar plex is what you need, so that's a lot of self-care. So minding yourselves, putting yourselves first at times. Yous are kind-hearted souls. Yous put an awful lot of people before yourselves, in fact. So yous kind of care about a lot of people around you. As well as that, like, water is good for fire, because you think when you're angry, if you're really mad, fire would be like, yeah. But you need to be like near water to kind of cool down.
It was just the
sound effect.
What's expected?
Like, hire me for
sound effects.
Sound effects, yeah. But that's
sorry.
Fine. Wearing yellow. You're kind of wearing a yellow top today. It's kind of like a light yellow. Yeah. So you're going to be drawn to brighter colours, basically. Little things like that are going to be a huge.
Slightly orange on
focus. There you go. So wearing the colours yellow. Yellow crystals also work for that, because they help with your confidence too. Do you find that you suffer with like stomach pain or like that?
Sometimes I would, yeah.
Okay, you do. That would mean drink lots of lemon water. That will help your stomach. There's like these little things that you can do that will help with your energy. So then we're not gonna forget the other signs, the star signs. So we have earth signs then, and there's Taurus, Virgo and Capricorn, and they're practical people, they're logical, they're reliable, and they're honest. So you think of earth signs, like, they want to be grounded people. So, but then earth signs would also struggle to not know how to stop. So they're constantly on the go, because they're linked to the ground so much. They can either be very grounded people where they know how to relax, or they can be ungrounded to the point where it's like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. So their root chakra, it can be either balanced or unbalanced. Yeah. So it's trying to find time to like meditate, know how to turn off the mind, because your crown chakra will also be really tied back to your root. and it can throw the balance off. Then in the centre, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what's happening right now, but I feel like I have to move my body. So it's trying to find that balance in yourself. So wearing the colours red, like I said, meditation, breath work is really good as well. If it is crown chakra is kind of overstimulated a little bit with the root, you want to be writing down maybe things that need to clear your mind. So maybe it's a list that you have to get done, whether that's daily tasks, not to-do tasks, because to-do, there's nothing in this world that we have to do, but kind of just, yeah, like I used to always write down to-do, and I was like, oh my god, like there's actually nothing in this world that you have to do. It's like you'll get it done when it's done. So kind of having it as a daily task. Yeah, as I was saying, wearing the colours black and red actually work as well, wearing them. Trying to think of other little things, but even just them grounding techniques where it's like you're imagining that you're in the moment now, like being like, whether that's having a cup of coffee with a friend and being like, okay, I'm not thinking about what I have to do after this or what happened an hour before. It's like, I'm here right now,
living in the now, like
living in the moment, exactly, in the present moment. So you're putting your feet flat on the floor and grounding yourself and being like, I'm in this moment with my friend. Then we have air signs. So we have Geminis, Libras and Aquarius. And they are natural thinkers, communicators, doers, and they're humorous. I can easily say that my boyfriend, who's a Gemini, is very humorous, to say the least. But yeah, like they have this open throat chakra basically, but they can have a closed one too, like I was saying with the previous ones. So they're really good at being expressionate, talking about how they feel, or they cannot be. Like they'll hold everything in as well. Sometimes it can be difficult for them to communicate because it could be stemmed with anxiety. So again, it's like, okay, how do I find this freedom in my voice, because that's their strength. So what they need to do then, if they struggle to talk, they need to find a way to communicate. So again, I would say journaling's really good for the throat chakra, finding someone that they can trust, that allows them to open up to themselves or open up to someone else. Drinking loads of water, wearing the colours blue crystals, anything with fresh air. So being outdoors as well will also really help with the throat, because it's going to stimulate that as well. So little things like that's going to basically help. So the other thing that I find really interesting as well with star signs is like the compatibility that some of them have too. Like it's kind of like, oh, you know, Scorpios should be with Cancers and things like that, and it's like, oh god. And like, I think a lot of people will say, like, there is some truth in it, and then there's some of it that doesn't make sense. Like, I was with someone who was supposedly meant to be my soulmate, and I can tell you now, that was just not a compatibility whatsoever. So there was just...
I want to look mine up.
Okay, you have to look there. But it does make so much sense, like, in some regards with how they can link. But for me, I'm like, no.
Leave.
I mean that in a polite way. There's obviously some people who have met their soulmates in that regards. I have, but they're not like the person that I'm supposed to be 100% compatible with.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, but I kind of see it more as the elements. So like, for example, my mom's fire, but my dad, myself and my brother are all water signs. So she chose us as we chose them as family, because we're probably the only 3 people in our life that can actually calm her down, because we're water. We can put out our flame when she's stressed or worried or angry. Bill is an air sign and I'm a water sign, so you think of the ocean and it needs air to move as well. So it's like when my water is stagnant, he would help me move. So it's kind of like it's like, it's what floats my boat kind of sort of thing. So there's like them little things that you can kind of go into as well. Have you found yours yet? I'll let you find yours. You're okay, but basically when it comes to astrology as well, like the practice actually began as soon as humans first started to observe astronomical cycles, with some of the earliest evidence dating from the 3rd millennium BCE. Throughout much of history, and up until the 17th century, astrology was considered an academic discipline across much of Europe. So it was actually, this was highly relied on for centuries basically. And like ancient civilizations, in their quest it was to basically help them understand the cosmos. So this is going back then to the universe again, like they were trying to understand the sun, the stars, the moon. And like then you think of all these sacred sites that we've spoken about as well, and why they were carving them and worshipping them, because they were trying to understand what the tide was. So their cultures believed that the positions and the movements of the celestial bodies held profound significance and influenced the lives of individuals and the course of events on Earth. So everything that happened to them was linked to what was going on out there. And like, I mean, it does actually tie back
Yeah.
into all these places that we go and see that's around us. So it's really interesting. I
actually learned so much there. So I actually found that
go on, do tell me.
compatibility is other fire signs, so Sagittarius, Aries and Leo,
Okay.
as they speak the same emotional language.
Okay.
Air signs, Gemini, Aquarius and Libra also have a similar
Dynamic?
dynamic and wit. So that's kind of mine.
Whereas like some people would say, oh, fire signs shouldn't be with fire
Yeah.
because it'll be like an explosion.
But that's like one of them. If I went through, there's probably like somewhere down there is probably saying like, don't go near another fire sign.
But it's like so interesting how it works like that. But like, I want to say like overall with astrology,
Don't go by it.
Don't
like live your life by it.
Don't live your life by it. It's the same with anything really. It's like everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's fine to read into it. I know some people highly rely on it, but I think we are who we are, and like I think more so regards to our star sign itself and the elements and who we are as people. Definitely. Like I seen this really interesting video of this man who was an astrologer. And he was able to get a group of 12 people, and each of them were a different star sign. So you think of the 12 star signs. I know there is a whole thing about there's 13 now.
Yeah.
We're not going to go
No,
into that.
that's a discussion for another day.
But
It's
he
another
was able
conspiracy theory.
but he was able to identify, like by looking at them, by their eyes, their personality, what they decided to do as work, their ears, everything, their height, their hands, everything. Teeth was another one. What star sign they were.
That's mine.
So like there you go. Like there's obviously characteristics that we have that are similar to other star signs that makes us Sagittarius, a Cancer, a Leo, an Aquarius, a Pisces. But he got all of them right, and he had no idea who these people were. He had no idea who as in their birthdays or anything like that.
Yeah.
He just went up with these signs and put them on I asked him 2 or 3 questions and put these little rope signs around their head or around their neck, and I was like, what? Like that's insane.
That's so cool.
So that's very interesting as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I have on astrology. So
That
I hope
was really
you
good.
learned.
I enjoyed that. I actually learned so much.
Yeah, it is. It's so fascinating, I think, personally. But yeah, so that is really it for this week's episode of the Misty Rambles. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, and we hope you have the time to tune into next week's. You can expect an even more interesting and spooky filled month coming.
This is going to be a fun month.
Definitely. Thank you so much again, and you can hear our podcast on Spotify, YouTube,
Google Play, Amazon.
the usual platforms. If you can share this and rate this, it would mean so much to us.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
We really do appreciate everyone that is listening to us. We can't believe that we're still here and doing this. It is incredible.
People still want to listen to us.
But we are still rambling on, of course, and we don't want to stop, and we won't stop.
No, definitely not.
So have a beautiful day, and we will hear from you next week.
Bye.
Bye.